So, welcome to today's video. Now, today's video isn't quite the usual energetic, edit, vloggy, just kind of overall motivational video that we usually have on this channel, which, by the way, if you're not subscribed, I'll probably subscribe for that. Here's a little preview of some of the recent videos. And yeah, we just bring the energy to all of the stuff we do, but also provide some more of this content, which is kind of more trying to better yourself in raw informational videos. And then there's the vlogs that kind of do it with a bit more of an energetic pace and kind of give you that balance and something to look forward to. Yeah, anyway, today's video. I mean, I'm sure you've probably seen by the title already, but this is today's video. We are going to be talking about how you can get all 9s or A stars in these exams for either GCSE or A level. Now, obviously, it's a bit weird and there's so many different things that our schools across the country are doing to give these grades, but essentially Ofqual have stressed the fact that they want it to be of an A level or GCSE standard, so none of the AS mocks, none of the GCSE mocks that didn't have full content and stuff like that in. Basically, all of the examinations and questions and things that you're doing in class at the moment to A level standard, that's what's going to be pretty critical. Now, obviously, we don't know exactly how we're going to get these results, but the best thing to do is smash out all of the exams that you've got coming up, or whatever you've got between now and, well, it's literally only like a month away, which is crazy. You just want to be smashing them out, giving your teachers the best view of yourself, but also showing that you've got evidence to back up the claims that you deserve certain grades, if that makes sense. So we're going to be cracking on with exactly how you can do that in the next few weeks to maximize your chances of getting those grades. Now, I've been trying to perfect these techniques for the last 3 or 4 years. I got all 9s at GCSE and I've got all A stars in all of my mocks so far. So I'm pretty experienced in that realm of revising, cramming, getting it all done in a small period of time. I'm going to be sharing that with you, and I'm going to be giving you some tips, tricks, and everything that you can do to maximize your chances of getting those grades. Let's go. Okay, right, so what I'm going to be doing is showing you the method that I had before and then how I've adapted it for this situation and to cram it in as little time as possible. So if you're watching this in the future, obviously you're going to get my full revision method and how I got all 9s and how I'm trying to get A stars. But then you're also going to be shown a condensed method that kind of reduces the amount of time that you need to spend on it all with a slightly reduced chance of getting those grades. Obviously, it's the best thing that you could be doing to get them, and it just depends if you want to put in more work or less work, pretty much. Right, let's get straight into the original method and then how that's adapted. Let's go. I'm sorry, but I could not be dealing with that hair. Here is the original method in under 2 minutes. Let's go. So what we've got is we've got 3 phases. You've got preparation, purposeful practice, and then review. This is what each of them are. So preparation is really simple. It's condensing all of the content into simple resources that you can look back over, review to help consolidate that information. So that's things like cue cards, summarized notes, cheat sheets, and all of that. And then stage 2 is this, purposeful practice. And what I mean by this is going over those cue cards, going over those notes, and anything that you don't quite understand, you're going to make a cue card on Anki on that topic. Anki is actually a web-based algorithmic cue card app that helps you to memorize it at insane speeds. So every time that something comes up that you don't quite clock, you're going to write a cue card on that on Anki. But also in that practice phase is practice questions. So you're going to be doing loads of practice questions. And again, when you get a question wrong, you're going to write a cue card on that question with the answer on the back. So you're chucking it into that algorithm and helping you to memorize it at lightning speeds, so that when a similar question comes up in the future, you don't make that same mistake again and it's all calm. And then we've got stage 3. Again, stage 3 is really simple. Stage 3 is review, and basically it's going through all of those Anki cue cards just on repeat, just continually cycling through it and iterating towards a state whereby you know everything, you know all of the mistakes you've made in the past, and you can kind of put all of that together in practice, in exams, to be able to get pretty much everything correct. Now, to put this into a more like a visual form, basically you need the preparation phase to be able to get into this feedback loop of 2 and 3, which is purposeful practice and then reviewing everything from that practice. So you're basically identifying the flaws in your knowledge and then consolidating that information, and that iterates again and again until you get less gaps in your knowledge so that you can do less review, and then you iterate towards 100% accuracy in exams, in tests, in whatever, and that is that phase. Yes, okay, I get that that's a lot to take in such a small period of time, so just take a second, breathe. Okay, cool. So now that that's completely simplified, you've only got 3 stages. It makes it so much easier and you're calm. You just got to find a way of condensing all of that content. I prefer physical cue cards because it helps me to kind of make those physical connections between ideas. Like I can write questions on the one side and then the answer on the back, and then draw links between other cue cards and things like that. I'm actually going to be having a video coming on how I make my cue cards very soon, so if you want to watch that, don't forget to drop a subscribe. But then the second phase and the third phase are very simple and they work in a loop. You practice those cue cards by going through them, or those notes by just reviewing them, or the cheat sheets by looking at all the information, identifying the gaps in your knowledge. So you might like test yourself, and if you can't remember it, you'll make a cue card on Anki. Anki, then Anki will give you those cue cards in the review phase at the exact times that you need it to help you learn it faster. So you have this thing called a learning curve, and it gives you it at exactly the right time to help you consume that information and memorize it much faster than without those algorithms. And again, in that purposeful practice stage, you're just going to be answering loads of practice questions as well as that. Looking at the mark scheme, marking your answers, and any that you don't get right, you're going to be making a cue card on Anki so that you can remember for the next time you're faced with a similar question how to avoid going down the route you initially went down. For example, if you always put a number to the wrong number of significant figures, write a cue card on that, and then every time you're asked to put a number to a specific number of significant figures, you're already looking out for that, and that question triggers your remembering of those cue cards on Anki and causes you not to make that mistake in the future or ultimately in the exam when it is most crucial. And basically it will get to the stage where you no longer need to do stage 2. You no longer need to do the purposeful practice because you've seen most of the exam questions that are out there. You've been through your cue cards so many times that you're confident in all of the content that is on your Anki, and then you can just go into the review phase and just keep blasting through those Anki cue cards again and again and again, a week, a day, an hour before your exam. And then you hit that exam, you know everything, and it's calm. Now I actually used that for my chemistry mock and the 3 maths mocks I had this week, and they've been brilliant. It's been calm. In fact, I actually forgot to revise my cue cards for maths until the night before, and then I just used the Anki and it smashed out. I personally think that this is the best method to revise anything, and yeah, hopefully it worked for you. Anyway, how can we condense that method and make it a bit easier bypassing that first phase, which takes the longest, preparatory phase, which involves like writing all of the cue cards and stuff normally? How can we eliminate that, make it easier, and solve all of our time-based problems? This is how. So stage 1, the preparation phase, has 2 main purposes. The first purpose is condensing all of the information in these textbooks and revision guides into simple, easy to use resources with the minimum amount of information that you actually need for the exams. This is how I've done that. I've basically got like hundreds upon hundreds of cue cards for chemistry here, physics here, and then maths and further maths are all of those. And this has condensed everything from about 7 textbooks worth into just this. And then I just look through these, I test myself on the information, and again, use that to then move into stage 2. I'll focus purposeful practice. But the reason why going into this condensed form of revision is going to be slightly more detrimental than actually writing the cue cards themselves is while you're making these resources in the preparation phase, you're actually doing purposeful practice too, because you're taking all of the information from the textbooks, sorting through it and finding the critical information. You're kind of reviewing it as you go along to make these cue cards. But luckily, that is the most ineffective type of purposeful practice. The actual consolidation and where you learn the most is in the review stage and actually reading through the cue cards, not writing them, which is where this comes in. Now there are actually 3 levels to what I'm about to explain. The first one's free, the second one's relatively affordable, and the third one's still affordable but slightly more expensive than the other 2. But essentially if we rewind the clock to about a year ago when I first started making videos, in one of my videos when I had about 800 subscribers, I actually recommended SNAPREVISE and these cheat sheets. Let's roll that clip quickly. Read over your cue cards, or if you haven't made these cue cards, there are cheat sheets on SNAPREVISE for biology and chemistry. Just search cheat sheets for chemistry by SNAPREVISE, and they're condensed notes of all of the content across the whole course in literally just a few pages. Now it's crazy because having used these SNAPREVISE cheat sheets for literally years and then recommended them a year ago on one of my first ever videos, they've actually sponsored this video and given me access to all of their paid resources so that I could explore those for you guys and then give you, again, an avenue should you want to go down to help you condense all of the revision and stuff you're doing into a really short period of time so you can get the grades quicker with less effort. So I'll cover those in a second, but first of all, let's go in depth into these cheat sheets. These cheat sheets cover the entire A-level of each subject in just a few pages. For example, for A-level chemistry, which is this set of cheat sheets, there are only 20 sheets that summarize the entirety of the A-level course. So in order to use these sheets as the bypass of the preparatory phase, this is what you need to do. You can use these sheets like cue cards. So rather than spending like hundreds of hours having made those cue cards, you can use these sheets. So for example, you could cover up the atomic structure and ask yourself questions in your head that relate to it. For example, you might ask yourself, what is the relative mass of a proton? You'd ask yourself that in your head, you'd think of an answer, and then if you got it right, then that's fine, move on. If you got it wrong, for example, if you said like half rather than a full 1, then you would use that and make a cue card on Anki, going into that feedback loop. And you just repeat that for all of these pages. Maybe going through like 1, even 2 a day. If you do 2 a day, you've done it all in 10 days. Realistically, you'll probably do 1 every day, and maybe even every 2 days. So you could probably get the entire course done in terms of the preparation phase days in a month, or if you wanted to absolutely grind it out like 5 days to a week. And that would be calm. You'd have smashed it. You'd have all of the Anki cue cards ready to go to just cycle through stage 2 and 3, which is purposeful practice, and then the review. So if that makes sense, you would work your way through these cheat sheets, but make aware of the gaps in your knowledge so that you could solidify them with Anki. Now let's quickly just get a cinematic of these sheets because they deserve some spotlight. They just look so good. Let's go. Now the cheat sheets themselves can all be found at SNAPREVISE.co.uk under the freebies tab on their website, and they've currently got A-level chemistry and A-level biology, but as we speak they're also developing A-level physics, A-level maths and A-level further maths, so by the time you're watching this those might be out. So if you want to check it out, links in the description, SNAPREVISE.co.uk. Okay, cool, on to the first paid resource. Now what we've got here is arguably the best thing that you can spend your money on for revision. They are sets of cue cards made by SNAPREVISE that are exam board specific, and they cover everything in only 200 cards. To put that into perspective, I probably made about 400 or 500 cards to cover the entire A-level, so the fact that they've done it in just 200 is absolutely mental. But the reason why I'm saying this is probably the best thing that you can spend your money on is they're not just cue cards. They don't just cover the information, they combine the two best aspects of the purposeful practice, the review of the cue cards to make more Anki cue cards, and then the exam practice, because these cue cards actually have exam questions on the back written by SNAPREVISE, so they're not seen anywhere else. You can only get them on these cards. For example, on the front you've got all of the information that you need, and then on the back you've got those exam questions. So let's crack these out. Here is the full stack of those 200 cards. You've got contents that literally shows you what cards are going to cover which pieces of content, numbered from 1 in this case all the way obviously up to 200 because that's how many cards there are. And basically each cue card covers a different topic. So it's kind of like the cheat sheets but put into these detailed cue cards with exam specific questions. It even breaks it down further into the subtopics. So for example, physical chemistry, it tells you all of the cue cards that are covering that topic of physical chemistry. Let's hit up the first one, changing ideas of the atom. It takes you through the entire timeline of the atom, covering Boyle, Dalton, Thomson, Rutherford, and then Burr. And then on the back, asks you an exam question with the actual answer, so you can test your understanding of the information on the front of the card. And there are 200 of these absolute beasts. That is going to be a godsend. Okay, so those are the SNAPREVISE cue cards, and they are arguably going to be the best resource if you don't want to spend too much on revision resources, but you want something that's going to be as beneficial as possible. It bypasses that first stage and allows you to just go straight into that feedback loop and get the grades in as smaller time as possible. But now the final resource, before we go into the summary of everything, are SNAPREVISE's online courses. Now these are kind of like the complete package. They basically do the entire method for you. It's all in one simple, easy to use space on their website that takes into account what you already know, highlights the areas that you need to improve on, and then gives you bite-sized videos to fill in those gaps in your knowledge. This is like a kind of weird metaphor, but think of like your brain as the subject, and then obviously you're gonna have slight dents in that where you kind of don't fully understand a certain concept. Those videos are gonna act as the filling for that, ensuring that you have a fully rounded understanding of the topic as a whole, so that you have everything that you need to go in and answer those questions. But then it's also going to provide you with exam questions straight after those videos with real-time feedback, so it'll mark it for you and tell you whether you got it right or obviously not. And then if you didn't get it right, it's going to provide you more questions like that. If you got it right, it's going to leave that, move on, and it's going to get into that feedback loop for you. But there's no point me just talking about it. Let's actually go and show you. Okay, so this is the SNAPREVISE courses homepage. Now, as you can see, I've already got all of the courses. So if we go on to the A-level chemistry, we'll take a little tour through that. So this is what comes up when you go through it. You've got the entire course progress, as you can see. You've also got weekly progress. You kind of earn XP, which keeps you motivated to keep going. So now let's go on to the year 12 topics. We'll start easy. We'll go atomic structure and isotopes. When you get onto it, you actually get a short quiz that assesses your current understanding of the topic. Two, like I said, make aware of the areas that you're not quite as confident on, so that it can give you those bite-sized videos and exam-based questions based on those rather than just chucking it all at you. So kind of help you save time and make your revision more effective as a whole. So if we start that quiz now, I'm just going to quickly blast through that, answer a few right, a few wrong, just so you get the gist of it. Okay, so I've been through the quiz. It tells me what I've got right, what I've got wrong, and then the topics that correlate to those questions. So I got the structure of the atom, mass and atomic number right, isotopes wrong. So then we click get started, and it will give you those videos on the stuff that you need. So first off, it gives you videos of an oversight of the entire topic, and then videos on the things that I needed. So for example, question 4, or the 4th segment is on isotopes. So I'll go down to isotopes, I'll watch that video. Okay, so I've now finished that video and it's giving me a summary. And as you can see, the progress bar at the bottom has gone completely green rather than partially orange and partially grey. Basically, grey, it means you haven't watched any of that part, orange means you've watched some of it, and then green means you've watched the entire video and then it completes that section. So now that I've watched that video on isotopes, I can then go and reattempt an isotopes quiz with different questions to assess whether or not I've fully grasped that concept. And again, if I have, great, move on, next thing. If not, it will recycle that later on and give me more questions on it. Now they've even got, after that quiz, a worked through exam question to further enhance your understanding of it. Okay, so let's get on with the quiz. Okay, so now that I've got 100% on that test, it says that I know isotopes and it can move on from that, test me on other topics. That is only one part of the subscription. With the subscription, you actually get a lot more. So I'm now back on the home page of that course. And as you can see, there's not just the course, there's also web classes. So if you go onto web classes, first of all, it tells you the one that's coming up next. So for me at the moment on Saturday the 24th, the next one is on Sunday the 24th between 6 and 7. It tells you the tutor, it tells you what they're going to do. On this one, there's a recap of moles, amounts of substances, calculations using moles, concentration, volume and mass, and then it also gives you a bit of details about the tutor themselves. And then when it actually is that time, you can join the class and go through the lesson with them. But before that, you can also download the presentation that they're going to be using. So I just click download presentation, it will open it up and it will give you a rundown of everything they're going to go through in that class. Honestly, my Wi-Fi is terrible recently, it's a joke. And yeah, this gives you the entire presentation and everything they're going to be running through, so you can look over it before if you want to, get a bit of an idea, and then just use that hour as kind of like revision for you. So going back to that page, if you scroll down, it gives you the schedule and all of the planned sessions on a monthly basis, with each being posted for that month at the beginning of each month. So for example, for April, we've got all of these sessions that we can attend, and they vary completely from drop-in tutors to actual sessions. So the actual sessions are basically where the tutor goes over the content of that, whereas the drop-in sessions are you submit your own questions and they'll go through those questions that you have, and that's all included with the course subscription. Now of course, if you can't attend them for whatever reason, they are also recorded, so they are there if you miss them but still want to look over the content. Cool, that is the complete SNAPREVISE course. So now I'm going to do a quick review of everything that we covered in this video. Okay, I'm going to try and summarize it all in just 1 minute. Let's go. So the first step is preparation, and this involves condensing all of the information into simple resources that can be used to identify gaps in your knowledge. Then you've got stage 2, which is purposeful practice, and this just uses the resources you've just made in the preparation phase to identify those gaps in your knowledge and make cue cards on Anki on the information in those gaps, so that you can then go into stage 3, which is review, and just keep cycling through those Anki cue cards to solidify that information and make sure you can smash the exam. But then again, you can go back round into stage 2 and do loads of practice questions, take information from those and the things you got wrong to put back into Anki and more cue cards, and keep going through those cue cards to make sure that you're iterating towards 100% accuracy in exams and a full understanding of the content. But then if you want to fast track this process, you can use pre-made resources. For example, SNAPREVISE's cheat sheets, their cue cards, or even their online course, and that just does it all in a lot less time with minimal sacrifice of the effectiveness of the revision. And that is the revision method. Okay, unfortunately that is it for today's video, but I hope you found it helpful, I hope you've enjoyed, and hopefully it'll help you to smash out these exams. Like whether you're in 2021 currently, or you're going to be watching this like a couple years down the line, I don't know, but hopefully it's been helpful. But if it has, don't forget to drop a like, don't forget to drop a subscribe, because I've got loads more videos coming like this, but also like the energetic vloggy stuff that I showed you at the start. But yeah, see you in the next one.
I live inside my own world of make-believe.